contest gold ring in my pocket. Looking for a good time, here we got it. We got.
Hey, it's Jamie Lambert again with SportsThreads.com, here with Jay Cox of the West Virginia Knuckleheads. Jay, I appreciate you coming on. We started talking about youth baseball this past weekend, and with everything going on, starting to take off, hopefully with the COVID-19 pandemic that's been going on, that some of these kids that's been stuck in the house can get out and start doing some things that they love to do. The Knuckleheads, kind of was a good spot for me. Carson played with you guys for like a year and a half, kind of at the early goings. Kind of what is, how did the Knuckleheads get started? I know originally I seen you, I think you had like a little all-star team called the Winfield Generals, I believe.
Yeah, so it all kind of started, I think it was 2014. And that was the year that my son was 6. And he made the, we had the Winfield Little League All-Star team. And pretty good little team. And we just kind of, me and a guy named Mike Kiefer and Jay Blackwell, we just got to talking. And the only other travel team we really knew of at the time in our area was this older team called the Crush. And that was like a guy named Sean Gillespie, Rudy Mulder, and those boys are actually seniors in high school this year. But so we didn't really know much about it. But we decided to throw a team together basically from our all-star team and take them and play some more baseball. Because as we know, Little League All-Star, especially in that coach pitch division, it ends pretty quick. Even though I think that year was the year we made it to the district championship, it just kind of felt like it ended too soon. So we decided to try and find a way to keep the boys playing, basically because our kids loved it so much. So we took those kids and we started practicing, thought we were pretty good. But there really wasn't anybody around here to play that was in our age group. So we took them over to Danville, Kentucky, to that area, around Lexington area. And man, we got absolutely killed. I mean, it was like, of course we had 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and we were competing in a 7U division. And I mean, we were getting beat like 18-3, 20-2. I mean, it was awful. But it kind of showed, I think it showed our boys what they had, what they were up against, what their potential could be. And we started practicing more, and we actually played that team out of Barbersville, that Bucks team that's a year older than us now.
Yeah, right.
They're pretty good. Or they're Daniel Nida's team. They're a really talented team. And I remember we played them in a doubleheader, and they killed us. And then we went to Kentucky like 2 or 3 more times and kept practicing. And then we played them again in a doubleheader, and we beat them both times. I remember Daniel came up to me after those games, and he was like, "Did you get new kids? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "No, we've been practicing a lot and playing really good teams." And that's I learned real quick, if you play teams that are better than you, more talented than you, that's, it shows your kids what they need to do to get better and how much better they can be. And that's what kind of got the ball rolling and got the kids excited, got the parents excited. And at the end of that year, at the end of that summer, because like in travel, you move up in age in August.
Sure. So
when we got to August, that's the time we decided, because we were having problems competing with a split team, basically, because I think we had 4 or 5 6-year-olds and the rest were 7-year-olds. So after the all-star thing happened, I kind of kept my eye on a bunch of kids and not really recruited, but I just started asking parents, "Hey, we're trying to build a team for these 4 or 5 6-year-olds and see if they were interested." And we've got a couple kids from Hurricane to kind of get us going there and built what was like probably one of the best 8U or best 7U teams at the time around. And that's, I think it was the year. No, was that when Carson started with us?
Carson, I think, started with you, and that he was 8, so you guys were 8U.
Yeah,
so
once we became 8U.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of, that next year as 7U, those kids didn't lose a game. I mean, they were unreal. And then we got even better, we added Carson, a couple others. Of course, you know how it goes. Every year you have a little bit of turnover, but at the same time, we still have that core group of kids that have stayed with us and really kind of just built from that. So.
Right. And you mentioned one I've got noted down here that I'm going to surprise you at the end, talking about your parents. But we'll get into that at the end. But the one thing I was thinking of today when I was, and there was a tournament that we had in Point Pleasant several years ago.
Yeah.
And looking back at that tournament and all the conversations that I had, as well as, all the other coaches had, Doug Williamson was there, who now runs Tournament Time. Chris Mackey was there, who now has the, what's their team name?
Oh man, you asked me too quick on that one.
Shoot. Young Guns.
Huh?
Is it the Young Guns?
They're out of Parkersburg.
Right. But anyways, you got Mackey, you had Jeff Conley, who had the Smoking Guns. It was like that weekend, in Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
Bunch of stuff, transpired, out of that week.
Oh yeah. Ripley was there, I think, weren't they?
Yeah. Shoot, I should have did some more thought on that. What was that? Jackson County Jaguars.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a team from Morgantown, I think. The Bombers were there.
Right. And that's actually where that weekend Barbersville was up there, and Ona, and that was, I always joke with Connor, my older son, that was kind of when it became the Huntington Hits, but then turned into the Gamers, because they came up there and got their butts kicked a couple games, and they, by like Jackson County Black Sox, and they was like, the hell with this, we're not doing this anymore. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that looking back that came from that tournament. Some of the people there, and like everybody that I can think of that was there, have done good, have done great things with the youth, getting kids playing and playing at a higher level, like you said, and going to some of Doug's tournaments. I mean, you're playing against, teams out of Virginia, teams out of Maryland. So so I guess what I'm saying, some great things have came from some, some good local guys that have put some time in. And
absolutely. I think a lot, there in the beginning when we were that age, when we were that 6, 7, 8-year-old age, there really wasn't a lot of places for us to play. I mean, when you think about it, compared to the opportunities we have today. And it had to start somewhere. And, you guys hosting those tournaments in Point, the tournaments that Doug had, it's really grown from those early early tournaments. So it's really fun to see, because I mean, at any given time right now in this area, there's a tournament at Valley Park every weekend.
Sure. Right.
So, I mean, we had to, when we started, we had to travel to Kentucky to get to play quality teams. Now we're seeing quality teams every weekend locally. So it's really taken off.
Right. So what do you guys do? Obviously this season, preparing for this season, it's been a little difficult, with everything that's going on. But you started with, like, let's let's just say you start with 7 new kids with the Knuckleheads,
Right.
and now they're up to 12U
Yeah.
this season. So what kind of off-season work do you, as you coaches, do you put in, and what do you guys expect out of the kids?
Well, I look at it over time, it's really kind of evolved. And, from a 7U kid to a 12U kid, obviously big difference. The biggest thing for us is protecting their arms. And, that's my main concern. So in the off season, we want their arm to rest. We play typically, if we weren't going through this COVID-19 thing, we would have started games the last weekend of March, and we typically play clear through the 1st of September. So that's a lot. That's a lot of games. And last year alone, I think we played 78 games, which is kind of crazy for 11-year-old kids, but it was spread out over time.
Sure.
And so we really want them in that off season. We want them to have that 2 or 3 month period to rest their arms. So we want them doing other stuff. We want them running. We want them throwing a football. We want them playing basketball. We want them doing all these other sports to give their arm a rest. But then starting in mid-January to early February is when they start throwing again. So we rent a facility here locally, an indoor facility where we can go in and hit, throw, do a lot of strength training, calisthenics, things like that, speed and agility stuff. So that all starts in late January, early February usually. And we do that for 6 to 8 weeks. Then we get outside and then we go. So this year's been obviously a lot different. We actually got to start those workouts, and we were doing them before all this hit. And then when this hit, we kind of had to scramble around and get our heads together and figure out. So I've been having the kids send me videos of them throwing and hitting off a tee, things like that. And then just maybe a month ago, we established a team partner. So each kid on the team gets put with one other one, and they communicate with each other every day and talk about what they did that day to get better, whether it was they ran a mile or they did long toss or they hit off a tee or whatever, took 50 ground balls with their dad, mom, whoever, and just kind of add some accountability, because we're anticipating we're going to start playing here in June. So I don't want them to walk out there with dead arms and not be ready to go and somebody get hurt.
Right. Well, so you guys started the Knuckleheads as a 7U team, like we talked about.
Yeah.
And now the Knuckleheads is kind of an organization. With several other teams. So you want to touch on that?
Yeah. So we've got we've got 8U through 12U now. And actually, we do have an older team. They weren't going to play this year because those boys are 9th graders. They were just going to do straight high school ball. But now that's all changed. So they're probably going to play some this season as well before football starts. But, we like you said earlier, we were successful. Our team is very successful as far as, winning. And we also have a really good time. And when other people see that, people want to be a part of that. So early on, a good friend of mine, Jeremy Brown, he's actually my family to my wife. He started that older team. And then another good friend of mine who I've known since we've been buddies since 9th grade, he started a younger team. And then it kind of just went on from there. The next year, there was 2 more teams added. And it seems like every year since then, there's been a parent. I never reach out to anybody to start a team. Yeah, there's always been a parent, in that 7-8-year-old range, call me and say, hey, I'm interested in starting the next 8U team, the coach pitch team for the Knuckleheads. Will you allow me to do that? And I typically sit down with them face to face and we talk about it. We talk about our philosophy, our rules, how we're going to act, what we expect. And as long as those things line up, then they start the next team. So we've got we got 5 teams, 8U through 12U, and really, I guess you could say 6 because we still got that older team too.
Right, and you touched on rules and how to act, and that's one thing that I did want to make sure if we didn't touch on that we do touch on. I played against probably three of your teams,
Yep.
your team specifically several times. You guys are definitely a class act. Your kids are very respectful, very good kids that understand the game. So I guess kind of if someone comes up and says, hey, I want to start a team, what gets you to say yeah?
Yeah. Well, I think, number one, it starts at home, starts with the parents. So when you're looking at building a team, I think that's the first thing you got to look at. But just strictly from a coaching standpoint, if a guy comes to me and wants to start a team, the first thing I'm going to do, if I don't know him already, is I'm going to call around and ask about him. And I'm just going to, I'm just going to ask people, hey, what do you think about this guy? You know him well? And, you're going to find out real quick how they're viewed and how they coach and how they handle things. But a couple of the main things that stick out to me is, number one, they're kids. They're there to have a good time. It's travel ball. A guy that I love coaching with, Mike Kiefer, he always said, it's not all about fun, but we want to have a good time. But man, winning makes it a whole lot more fun. So he was always pushing and driving. And he's one of the best baseball coaches in the area. I mean, I respect Mike tremendously. But there's always that good balance, and you want someone that's going to drive the kids to make them better, but also not be over the top. In a game situation, you want someone that's got that cool head and can maintain control. Especially, I mean, you've seen it, I've seen it in these travel games. In any game with youth sports, things can get out of hand real quick.
Right.
So you want someone that can handle that pressure in that situation and kind of keep a level head, and also be encouraging to the kids. They want to be the best. They don't want to mess up. But ultimately, baseball is a game of failure. So we have to teach these kids in the game of baseball how to deal with failure. You have to expect it. And it's those teams. I think one of the reasons we're so successful is because we've taught the kids that you have to expect to mess up. You have to expect failure, but then you also have to play through it, keep your head up and make the next play. But you see these coaches, especially at these young ages, that a kid misses a ground ball or, strikes out, and they lose it on them. And you're like, man, I mean, I promise you, coach, that kid did not want to do that,
Right.
It's just like, and you see the kid shut down instead of saying, hey, it's all right, man. As long as you try 100%, get the next one. Let's go. So as long as that coach kind of falls in line with those philosophies, I'm about them, and I'll support them.
Yeah, well, I was on here with Corey Camden from Gallipolis.
Corey's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of comical. We was talking about the success failure rate, and we were both under the understanding, as what I'm sure you are, is 1 out of 3 is a good hitter.
Yeah.
But we just hope 1 through 9 all get their hits together,
Right.
and then we'll be quiet for 2 innings until they come back up again.
Yeah.
I do notice that some of these people that try to grab these travel teams out of the air and try to start them and try to be successful, and there's a lot more that fail than succeed at it. But not specifics, but for the people that are listening out here, that especially after missing their rec season or missing the junior high season or their high school season, if if someone's sitting at home listening to us, thinking about possibly doing something this summer, you got any advice as far as fundraising goes? Where does it cost the parents, out the hind end, to be able to make it happen?
So just specific fundraising ideas.
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough one. At this point, it's really hard because, I mean, I was actually looking at our financial situation today. We start fundraising back in January, and we do those like the March Madness boards, the Super Bowl boards, things like that. We sold poinsettias. We've done different things like that, but a lot of our money comes from sponsorships. And, not to give our big secret away here, but, we establish a player fee for each kid. And I've heard some crazy player fees out there. So if you hear something north of, $700 or $800, I'd probably look somewhere else, depending on the age. But, like we'll set our player fee anywhere over the years, anywhere from $200 to $400 per kid, which is very reasonable. But then we encourage them to bring in sponsorships. So I'll tell, Johnny, if you can bring in a $500 sponsor for the team, we knock X amount of dollars off your player fee. So that encourages our guys to go out and actually talk to these local businesses and try to get some sponsorships. So sponsorship money is a big part of our pot. But as far as fundraising at this point, with the COVID-19 thing, I don't know all the restrictions. I mean, could you do a car wash? Could you do things like that?
Right.
I don't know. But if I was a kid that was like looking for a team and trying to raise some money to be able to play on that team, I mean, obviously you need to know the amount before you're going in, but there's got to be some local businesses wherever they're at that would likely sponsor them, especially in a time like this, I would think.
Right. So as, with all this stuff going on, obviously you didn't start playing late March, early April.
Yeah.
What does your schedule kind of look like tentatively at this moment? Obviously we know it could change, but, kind of what adjustments have you made to be able to get the kids out there?
Big adjustments. It really pains me that this all happened this year, because going into this year, I honestly felt this was like the best schedule I had ever built. I was so excited about it because we were doing a battle of the states back in April, and I was bringing in the Maryland Timber Rattlers.
Right.
We played them 3 times, and we'd never beat them. We tied them once. We lost on a walk-off hit once, and they beat us pretty good one time. We had the Louisville Sting coming in from Kentucky. We had a really good team, the Powhatan team from Ohio. We had Cannon Mac coming down from Pennsylvania, and we've only played them once, and they beat us. So I was trying to find the best possible teams I could find early on and bring them in. We were going to be at Valley Park, and we were going to do basically not a tournament. You're going to play every team once. So I was really excited about that, because right after that is when we'd be going down to Charlotte, North Carolina. We plan to go to Dayton, Ohio. I mean, we were playing in all these big tournaments where we were finding the best teams. So all that's pretty much scrapped. So our first tournament now, first game that we're scheduled to play is at Valley Park in one of Doug's tournaments on June 12th weekend, I think.
Okay.
So, and then the way I had the schedule set up before, we were playing like 3 to 4 weekends in a row and then taking a weekend off. And that allows for family vacations. I get that schedule out early so everybody can plan when to go on vacation and all that stuff. We had a church camp built into it in June, all kinds of good stuff. But like I said, all that's out the door now. So we're playing like starting June 12th, I think we're playing 5 weekends in a row. And that 5th weekend is when we're supposed to go to Cary, North Carolina for the World Series. So, at least we're going to build up to that because I'm sure we'll see some really good teams down there. Like we saw at like Shipyard and North Myrtle in the past. And then we're probably going to extend our season as well. So instead of shutting it down 1st of September, we'll probably play through September and try and get at least 12 to 14 tournaments in. That's the goal.
Right now, I know that I'm on your guys' Facebook page, and I've seen the profiles that you've done for the players like over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And you talk about the Shipyard. Won't you give your best description of that place? Because I hear a lot of the good things about it.
It's if you have the means and you can go, you need to go. It's the best place. It's the nicest facility that I think kids that are 10, 11, 12, 13 will ever play. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's right on the water. The fields it's all turf, but the field it's just a really cool park. And when you go there, you're going to see really good competition. We faced the defending champs out of Georgia the first game. I was like, okay, here we go. But it was a great experience, and the boys absolutely loved it. I'd like to go back. So,
well, I was asking Carson earlier. I was like, give me some dirt on Jay or give me some dirt on another coach or whatever. And I'll be honest, he didn't have any. He said it was. He said I had fun, but there was nothing that I could give you dirt on. But he did say, when you guys was transferring from Coach Pitch 8U into 9U, that he hit. Who did he say he hit? I think it was Luke. He said he hit Luke twice
in practice.
Yeah, practice. Like when you was just teaching them how to pitch and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, he said, I don't know if the rest of them was really mad at me or just joking with me, but they kept saying, why'd you hit Luke twice? And I said, well, it could have been worse. You could have hit 3 or 4 times.
Right. Right.
But, coming from an organization, your team specifically, that, that's playing 70 to 80 games a year. I mean, some of the things that stick out to you as far as, as far as success, what means the most to you. And then obviously at these age groups, there's a lot more than just success.
Right.
But then maybe some learning experiences that the kids have taken from it and been able to grow from. But just kind of some of the best memories you have with your Knuckleheads team.
Some of the things that stick out to me, it's funny. It's like, when I think about, I guess my favorite moments, it usually comes down to like particular plays or something that happened in a game. God, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking like Colton McCowan. He's a kid. He's been with us since day one, pretty much. He started when we started the 7U team. He was selected to be on that, and he's a kid that works hard. He's on a team full of really big, strong athletes, and he kind of falls in that same category as like my son, where he's one of the smaller guys. And we were playing in a game. I think we were 8U. We're up in Bridgeport, and we're playing in a championship game, and we're playing a team that was actually a year older than us, but because they didn't have their age division, they allowed them to play down. was kind of weird. But anyway, and it was funny because it was the area that Colton came from. That's where he lives. We were playing that team.
Sure.
So, you know, there's 2 outs and he's up to bat, and, you know, we're trying to tie the ball game, and he gets like 2 strikes on him. We're all like, oh man, you know, here we go. And then he just rips the ball and hits a double. And when he gets on second base, he stands up and he like looks back at the dugout and gives us the big flex. And it, like, moments like that stick out to me. Brady McVeigh hitting his first home run in Kentucky. That was awesome. Austin Blackwell hitting his first home run. I'll never forget that. He came around third, and I held my hand up for a high five. And he always did that, you know, he always dabbed all the time. Like, he'd hold his hand up for me to give him a high five, then he'd do that. So I got him. Like, when he came around third, I held my hands up, and he was all excited, and I gave him one. He talks about it still, but, you know, what else? Bryson Casto hit a walk-off last year in a 3-2 championship ball game there at Valley Park. That was pretty awesome. Ian hit a walk-off one time, not a walk-off home run, but a walk-off hit. Luis hit a walk-off home run in Morgantown last year. I mean, just stuff like that is those particular plays stick out to me. And, you know, when you think about just like the overall experience, I've been with some of these kids, you know, Blake, Austin, and Ian. They've been on the team since they were 6. They were on the original team. So I call them like the pillars of the team. And to see those kids where they started and where they are now is it's pretty awesome. You know, they used to not be able to handle anything as far as failure. And that's how I measure our success. I try not to measure it. I mean, it's great to say, hey, we were 68-8 last year, or whatever. But when I look at, okay, what are we doing that? Why are we doing this? We want to have a good time, obviously, give these kids an experience that they're going to look back and say, man, I had a blast playing for that team. But I think the main thing is teaching these kids life lessons. And, you know, there is so much we can teach kids in the game of baseball, just like in basketball, football, whatever they're playing. There's a lot of lessons to be taught. And if we can teach kids how to deal with failure and still be successful, that's how I measure what we do. And I've seen, you know, we took on the team slogan or the team saying last year, be a rock. And basically what that means is, you know, there's a really long story to it. You have to ask Cal Jones. Maybe we can get him on the next one. He can tell a story. But you got a rock and a marshmallow, right? And a jelly bean. You got these 3 things. And a marshmallow is a soft, you know, super soft. Jelly beans have, you know, they're soft in the middle. They got that hard outer edge, and you got a rock. And we don't want you to be soft. We don't want you to act like you're hard, but you're really soft on the inside. We want you to be a rock. Right. And, you know, a rock's a kid that can strike out 8 times on a weekend in a tournament, and when his last at bat, when it counts, hit a double, because he never gives up. He just keeps grinding. He's got that grit. So that's how we measure what we do. And as I see these kids go from striking out and crying, or missing a ground ball and crying, to missing a ground ball or striking out and saying, hey, you know, I'll get the next one. Let's keep going. We're going to win this game. That's what I like to see, a bit, you know, just that character.
Right. Well, they, you know, you touched on parents earlier, and I guess the light side of it, you know, from your specific age group and team that, you know, that we played a good share of games against, and also, you know, I've been there. You've got, you know, on your side with Carson playing for you, right. You've got some of probably the most energetic parents that you see, and it's kind of comical. I pulled into a couple games like at Valley Park, or you know, at South Charleston, and you know, I'm grabbing equipment, and I'm like, yeah, hell of luck the Knuckleheads are playing. just from hearing it. But it does seem like you have, and by me saying that, it's I've never heard anything negative from them. It's just they're there, and not necessarily. And also, Carson's ripped a double to right center field, and a couple of them was cheering for him was playing against you, which I thought was pretty funny.
Right.
But what is, you said it earlier, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. What is or how important, in your opinion, is the parents?
No,
especially at a young age.
Yeah. I mean, when, we've all been part of little league drafts, basketball drafts, any youth coach. And one of the first things the other guys that have been coaching tell you or teach you is, if you're trying to select between Johnny and Billy, and they're the same, same skill level or whatever, and Johnny's parents are, easy to deal with, and Billy's aren't. I mean, you go with Johnny. But yeah, I mean, when you look at these kids, when you got a good home, it's obviously a great thing for the kid. And now I'm not saying we're not going to take a kid when they don't have a good home. But when we look at, okay, are they going to fit in? Are they going to be able to handle the schedule that we play? Are they going to be able to handle the practices, all that stuff? Knowing the parents and their philosophy is a big deal. And I think it goes, when you look at the kids, the makeup of our team, and you can talk to any of our parents, they've all bought into that same philosophy. And it's not just about winning. It's about being on the team, developing these kids. And like you said, I mean, Carson was part of our team, and we see Carson playing somewhere and he hits a double. We're all going to cheer for it. We love Carson, right? Because he was part of our team. We want everybody to be successful. We want to, like, these teams over the last 3 years that we used to beat the crap out of, who now give us great games. I love seeing it. I mean, you look at a team like the Lugnuts. The Lugnuts, very good team. Jeremy Brunny does a great job with them. When they started off, I mean, we used to kill them, and now they're beating us. So you see that development, and he's got that good group of parents. He's found that core group that really know how to gel and are all on board with what he's doing. And it takes time, over time you weed a few out. And I've never cut a kid. I've never told a kid, hey, we don't want you anymore. But what typically happens is, you get, at the end of each season, you have one or two kids. It's like, hey, the parents are like, hey, he didn't get to play as much as we wanted him. We think he should do this instead of this. You got him playing here. Okay, you can come back or you can't. But they've kind of weeded themselves out, and we've really kept that core group that all have the same belief and philosophy. And when you're winning games, it's amazing how many parents come up to me at tournaments from opposing teams and say, hey, if you ever got an opening, I'd love for my kid to come join your team. We get that everywhere we go, and it's a compliment, but it's also kind of tough sometimes because it's like, yeah, but I've got a full roster, so.
Well, and that is, I've got two more questions for you, and that they perfectly lead into this because I was going to ask this question. As the years have went on, you've had those kids that didn't or wasn't able to come back for whatever reason.
Whatever reason, yeah.
Yeah, and but then it seems like you're picking up that Montoya or Tristan. So what is it, and I know you're a very humble guy and you're probably not going to like this question, but what is it that sets you guys apart from everybody else in your mind?
I would say it's just the team atmosphere. Um, you know, funny story about Tristan. Tristan didn't have a place to play. We got a call. I got a phone call from Marshall Hoff, who's a local guy here. His kid plays on the Fury.
Okay.
And he was like, hey, I know this guy. He's looking for a team for his kid. The team that Tristan was on had dissolved.
Okay.
And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, we can, we're going to pick up one player. We're looking to pick up one kid. I said, bring him down. We'll try him out. And he comes down there, and he's there for like the first 15 minutes. And I'm looking at my other coaches. I'm like, how does this kid not? How's he not on a team? Like, what am I missing? And of course, Tristan's performance and stats speak for himself. But
right.
We immediately grabbed him, and we were able to keep him. But I think when we go to tournaments and we're a group that has a good time, we do win games. But we also, when we lose games, we treat the other teams with the utmost respect. I hate losing because I'm a super competitive guy.
Right.
But I've got a tremendous amount of respect for that Timber Rattlers team because we've never beat them. I got a lot of respect for those guys. So when other people see that and they see us having a good time, they see us winning games, they want to be a part of it. So when it comes to when we need a player or we're looking to pick up somebody, it makes it fairly easy versus, if we weren't winning games and we were having parents yell at each other in the stands and kids crying and not having a good time. I mean, I think it's just the atmosphere that's been created, not by me, but by all my parents and all the kids and how they gel together. So
right, and and like I said, I was, me and Rachel were going through separation at the time that Carson was playing, and your parents were were fantastic, and I don't that's the reason I wanted to ask the question, and make you talk about the parents, because even from my perspective, I mean, I took a kid one weekend and mom or dad has completely blew up. And then I'm like, he's not, he's not coming back. I mean, and he may be the best kid on the team, but you just can't do it.
And it sucks for the kid, I mean, they're the ones that are, suffer from it or get punished by it. And it's not necessarily their fault, but when you're trying to coach a game, when you're trying to run a tournament, when you're trying to, I mean, you got so much going on. The last thing you can deal with is somebody's mom or dad that's mad because they played 3 innings and your kid played 4 or something like that. I mean, it's just the pettiest stuff. And that's something that I have been very, very fortunate to really not have to deal with. And if I have, it's been at a very small level.
Right. So to wrap things up, I've been asking you to come on here for a couple weeks. Last week you were, you were head deep in turkey hunting.
That's right.
So I've watched some of your guys' YouTube videos, hunting black, hunting bears, and it seems like you guys have hunted everything under the sun. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I love being in the woods. I love being outside for sure. And I've hunted everywhere from, I think Idaho to New York, anything from elk to turkeys to bear, deer, whatever. I was raised, in the outdoors, raised hunting. So we started that YouTube channel, The Untamed, and we have a good time for sure. And this year was really cool during turkey season because Ian wasn't in school. my nephew wasn't in school, so I got to take them a bunch and hunt with them. And it's times like that. It was a gift. That's not something that you're going to get or be able to get back. So being able this spring especially was really, really cool because we didn't have baseball, we didn't have school, we had to social distance. So what better way to social distance than get out in the woods?
Right.
So Ian,
I will ask you this too: how many animals can Josh call in without a tool?
Oh, I don't know.
I've heard him make noises on there. I mean, I thought there was a bear coming at me, and it was Josh.
He makes all kind of crazy noises.
All right. Well, hey, Jay, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, and like I've said to the other guys, kind of the purpose of these podcasts is, especially once we get everything going, we can touch base and talk about actual games going on and
right.
whatnot. So I'd love to have you back on, in a couple of weeks once you guys get going. You tell us about the tournaments you've been in and how things have went.
Okay.
But again, I appreciate you coming on. Hope everyone checks us out. And you got anything else?
No, if anyone's interested in kind of keeping up with us, they can find us on Game Changer. Just put in like West Virginia Knuckleheads or the 12U team. If you ever want to check up on us and see where we're playing or where we're going to play, I usually, once I get the schedule built, I'll put it on there, and then that way everybody knows where we're going to be and kind of follow along how we do.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you everything you do for the kids there in Winfield and the surrounding area. And again, you guys have one of the top-notch, travel programs in the area, and it's kind of refreshing to see. So I appreciate everything you guys do, and good luck this year.
All right. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
Cranked up on the Alpine, I got that skull ring in my pocket, looking for a good time. Here we got it.